What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bunsbox. Today I'm going to be giving a kind of a free-form style of review slash my impressions of Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2. First off, that name is a mouthful and a half. I don't really know how you'd even shorten it either, but I mean, there you go. But yeah, so I got sent this game last week to play, and I really like this series. I really liked Sniper Ghost Warrior 1, 2, and 3. 1, not so much. It was kind of weird, though. I'm not sure they really knew what they wanted to do with the series at that point, but then 2, they came into their own, I think. 3, they went a little far cry with it, and then Contracts, I feel like, is where they've nailed it in terms of how the game should be, and then Contracts 2 has expanded on that some more to be even better, in my opinion, and we'll go into why. But I mean, the main thing here, I think, that makes it a step up from Contracts 1 is the long range contracts, or the long shot contracts, sorry, is what they call them. There's 3 of them in the game, and they are similar to the structure of Contracts 1, but they involve you getting from point to point, and then at each point you set up, you know, your sniper nest, and you're doing some super long range sniping, like 1,000+ meters. I mean, if you've seen any of the promo stuff for this game, you will know this is like their huge big feature they've added to this, and it is a lot of fun. It reminds me a lot of the Hitman Sniper Assassin if it was to be fully implemented, or better implemented, and leaning more into the realism of stuff, you know, bullet drop and all that kind of stuff. Hitman Sniper Assassin was a little light on all that kind of stuff, and then having it be still in that mini sandbox of Contracts, the Contracts mini-series, sub-series, makes it, I don't know, it feels really cool. Like, you start your mission, you get dropped in, and then you work your way through maybe a few enemies to get to your purge. You take out your target, or you take out, you know, whatever thing you gotta shoot, and then you move on, you work your way maybe through a couple more enemies to another purge, take out some dudes, and then, so there's like this really mini area in like the middle that your playable space is, but then you go to like each of these points to do some super long range sniping. So those are by far the highlight of the game for me, the long shot contracts. And I will say there isn't that many missions in the game. So there's one tutorial, which is a tutorial, doesn't really count, and then there's 5 missions. But of those 5 missions, 4 of them are actually really long. I mean, I played through on the sharpshooter difficulty, which is like the normal. So you got marksman, sharpshooter, veteran sniper, and deadeye. So I played the whole game through on sharpshooter. So obviously this would probably take you a lot longer if you were playing on veteran sniper or deadeye. But for my sharpshooter run, the 4 biggest missions in the game took me around 2 hours a piece. So that's 8 hours of content right there. And that's without getting all the collectibles. There's plenty of like challenges and stuff they give you to try and tackle, like take out all these guys without raising an alarm, take out this target in a specific way. Again, similar to the Hitman series, and I think that is what these Contract series, sub-series, has done really well. Is they've taken the Hitman formula, I think, or the more the reboot Hitman ones, the World of Assassination trilogy, and they've managed to mold it into a sniper game, and it doesn't feel like a clone of Hitman, but you can see the inspiration there. So of those 4 that I mentioned that were 2 hours apiece, there was 2 long shots and 2 classic contracts, which I'll get into in a minute. But the last one is a long shot contract, which is set. It's more of an epilogue, really. You wrap up the main story in the first 4 missions. I won't spoil it if you're interested. Then you come back, however many months or a year or so later, and then you get this kind of epilogue, and it's only got 2 objectives instead of the 5 that the other one had, or 4 or 5 that the other one had, and it's really short. On normal blind, it only took me 20 minutes compared to the 2 hours of the other ones, so it's very much an epilogue type of mission. But still, I mean, that whole game is like 8 to 10 hours, which I think is, for the it's a budget price too. It's not your full price $60 game. I think it's $40 over in the States. It was like $35 here in the UK. So yeah, it's not like they're not asking the full $60, but I still think they could have done, honestly, for an 8 to 10 hour campaign. They have plenty of scope here, I believe, for DLC. The way the map is laid out, or the kind of mission select, I feel like they could easily add some DLC contracts to this. I'd be more than happy to pay for these, because I mean, they're, well, if they're more in line with the 4 main mission ones, I'd be more than happy to pay for them. If they kind of just shovel them out in these 20-minute sections, maybe I think that might decline the quality of the game and the sub-series. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that 20-minute mission was bad, but it was definitely strange to do. It was definitely strange coming off these long 2-hour missions and then bam, 20 minutes is done. But it did wrap up the story and all that kind of stuff, and so I mean, it makes sense from a story perspective. Which before I get into that, I'll quickly mention these classic contracts. If you played Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 1, you'll know exactly what a classic contract is. That is what they're alluding to by classic. They mean classic in the sense of what they were like in Contracts 1. And these are much more close quarters. You can still get up to some perches and snipes and stuff, but it's nowhere near the extreme 1,000-meter plus extravaganzas you get in the long shot contracts. But you're in the field, you're sneaking around. There's one mission you're sneaking around this kind of underground bunker, trying to take out, your target and get a oh, you were trying to disable a mainframe. That's what it was. So yeah, so it's a lot more close quarters. You'll probably be using different types of weaponry, silenced pistols, if it all goes to hell, like it sure as hell did when I was playing the that mission I just mentioned. You might be pulling out an automatic rifle and mowing some people down. But, you can always reload checkpoint, which is, again, something I tend to do in these types of games when it all goes to So they're very varied, and they alternate them too, which I think was really smart. You'll do a long shot mission, and then I'll give you a classic contract, then I'll give you a long shot contract, then I'll give you a classic contract, and then the final one, obviously, the shorter. It keeps it nice and varied as well, I think. You get these really long sniper missions, but then, they mix it up by sending you short range, so it doesn't get stale. In my opinion, they managed to keep it fresh by doing that. The long shot contracts are the highlight of this game by far, but the classic contracts are still really good and really fun, and they're a lot more open in that there's a ton of different ways to approach each objective, different ways in entry to places, different ways to take stuff out, that kind of thing. So in terms of freedom of choice, the classic contracts might actually be better, but there's still something so satisfying about nailing a headshot from 1,300 meters away on the long shot contracts that cannot be replicated in those classic contracts. But they're still very fun and definitely managed to keep the gameplay fresh. Like, if it was nothing but long shot contracts for all 4 or 5 missions, I think I might have got bored by the end of it. Potentially. I can't say that for sure because that's not what it is, but having the down on the ground close range stuff really mixed it up and kept it varied. So the story, like I mentioned, is kind of plays out in 4 missions and then an epilogue mission, really. I'll be honest, it's not the greatest. I mean, but are you really playing this game for the story? If you were looking to play this game for the story, I'd recommend not playing it, to be honest, because it's a pretty basic story. There's a bad guy trying to cause a war, and you're trying to stop him by taking out all of the underlings and then taking out the head honcho. The epilogue gives it a nice twist, I'd say, which is why I don't want to spoil that part, because that's probably the best part of the story, is how the main missions end and then the epilogue plays that out. It does get good at the end, I suppose, or decent. Like, the twist is cool, I think. But overall, pretty lackluster story. But yeah, the sniping, again, obviously the big competitor here in this genre series is Sniper Elite. And we know very much that they have the copyright, the patent, or whatever it is, the legal trimmings to make that X-ray bullet cam theirs. So you don't get that cool watching the bullet go through the guy and taking out his brain or his heart or his testicles or whatever in this game. But you do get the slow-mo bullet, you get to watch it fly in, and they've got some really cool shots of how it does that. You get to watch it slow-mo come out the barrel with the smoke and the explosion of the bullet coming out, and then slowly, maybe the camera will spin round as it's flying towards the guy, and then their head, it just completely explodes if you hit him in the head. Everywhere else, it just kind of looks like the bullet goes in and out. It's kind of whatever. But the head completely just annihilates the brain. And there's a setting to turn off gore and violence, and I'm guessing that's what that would do. I haven't messed with that. because I don't see why you'd want to unless you were maybe playing with a younger, more influential audience, I suppose. But yeah, then I thought that was really cool. Like, obviously not quite as cool as the X-ray stuff, but they can't do that. So, I mean, I think they've found a really cool, satisfying way to replace that. That probably makes me sound sick and twisted, but watching the guy's head explode was very satisfying, especially when you're doing it from that 1300 meter distance. I've been praising this game a bunch over the last, how long are we talking now, 10 minutes or so, but there is some downsides to this game, and the first is, at least I was playing this on Xbox Series X, and when it first came out, they were very quick at fixing this, I will say, so that is very, very promising in terms of any future problems. But when it first came out, the frame rate on the Series X was pretty poor. It felt really kind of choppy and weird to play. I'm not like an expert in that frame rate stuff, and I usually don't notice that kind of thing, but so it must have been pretty bad if I was noticing it. I got used to it, but it was still annoying. But it was like 3 days later they released an update to give a performance mode. So there's a visual mode, which is what was there originally, and a performance mode, which ramps up to 60 FPS with a 1080p resolution. Now, the visual mode, which was the original that I mentioned, it was improved. It was not as bad as it was when I first played it, but it still felt kind of off, if that makes sense. So I'd highly recommend playing in the performance mode, at least until maybe they get it figured out on the visual end. The performance mode was like an absolute joy to play. Coming back and mopping up the last 3 missions on that update was just amazing and really, really enhanced the game for me. So make sure you download your updates for the game if you plan on playing it. Another small thing that is not really a negative, well, it is, but it's like such a minor point of the game that it doesn't really matter. But for me, I'm very cosmetically minded. I'm the type of guy that will try and make my dude look super cool in, you know, an RPG, or if there's skins and stuff in games, I'm always picking like the one I like the best look of. So now in this game, there is various camos that you can get for your sniper, your sidearm, and your secondary weapon. And the camos are all the ones within the game. You'll see what I'm hinting at here, I'm sure, but the ones that come with the game are all pretty boring. There's a couple of cool ones like Desert Dark, Armor, Dusk Mounted Camo looks decent, but the rest are all just varying degrees of brown, different kind of desert camos. They've even got desert in most of their names. You've got Desert Classic Camo, Desert Digital Camo, Desert, New Desert Camo, Desert Mountain Camo, Light Desert Camo, Desert Stone Camo, Autumn Forest, which is a little bit different. It's got a little bit of green in there, but it's still mostly brown. Desert Storm, and then Camo Offset, which is still just brown. And then the aforementioned Dust Mountain Camo and Armor. So yeah, having all these camos and having them just be brown was a bit disappointing from a base game's perspective. But there's some really cool ones in the DLC. So if you're cosmetically minded and you want your sniper to look really cool, then maybe splash out the bit extra for the digital deluxe edition that comes with a bunch of skins. Like, I mean, I ended up buying one separately. The one I liked the best, it was called Dark Sky, which I'll throw it up on screen and whatnot. It looks so much better than the base game ones, which is a shame. I mean, obviously I know they want to make some more money off, DLC, and cosmetics is the best, is kind of the best necessary evil you can get. But I think it would have been nice if they'd thrown us a couple cool, maybe different colors. Like, everything was brown, with the exception of, like I said, couple blue ones. Maybe some red, maybe some green. Something cool could have been done, I think, with the camos. But quickly back to the loadout stuff. Something more substantial. Something I didn't know was in this game for the first couple of missions. I was looking through my loadout. There is a bow in this game, and you can replace your secondary weapons. That'd be your AK type gun, your automatic rifle, for this bow, which makes stealth so much more fun. You can have, because it's obviously very, very, very quiet, but it also comes with gas and explosive arrows. Obviously, explosive being more loud, but it gives you so much more variety to go about your missions, especially in those classic contracts, to mix things up. So in terms of replay value, if you're into like replaying missions and going for like certain achievements, if you're into like achievement type things, in-game achievements, this game has plenty of challenges and stuff for you to go for. The challenges might require you to kill everybody in an area from over X amount of distance away was one of them. Kill the targets in a certain manner. There's one for killing with explosives, with a death from above. Eliminate everybody without being seen in a certain objective. all that kind of stuff. There's some really cool, inventive kind of challenges there. Much, like I said, very in vein of not as many as Hitman, the World of Assassination trilogy, but very much in line with it. And like I said, I think that's really the biggest strength of this game, is they managed to kind of be influenced by that formula and turn it into a sniper-based game. It's an amazing game, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, there's a few problems with it, like the lack of variety in the base camos, the visual mode being pretty lackluster, and only being 5 missions long. I mean, like I said, there's a ton of replay value here, so I still think you definitely get your money's worth. But I'm hoping they expand on it a bit more, maybe with some post-launch DLC, I don't know. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say for this. I mean, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2, it's out now. It is available on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X/S. It is unfortunately not out on PS5 yet. You can play it on PS5 through backwards compatibility for the PS4 version, but the PS5 native version is set to release later on due to a bug they found really late into development, and instead of delaying all of it, they just delayed that one, which I think makes sense. I do wonder if that bug was somewhat similar to the frame rate issue that was on the Series X when it came out, but that's just me purely speculating. But yeah, like I said, this was kind of a free-form review, and I don't really want to give it a number, because as much as I personally like numbers in reviews, I think a lot of people tend to go to the numbers now and don't bother listening or reading the context of why I got that number, because, you know, I could give something a 7 out of 10, and the reasons I give it a 7 you don't care about, and then, so, you know, I don't think the numbers are as important as people think they are, so I'm not going to do it. And so yeah, I'll throw out my pros and cons here at the end, so you can have a quick roundup. That's as far as I'm going. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give me that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see some more content. Let me know what you think of this kind of style of review. I had a lot of fun doing it. It's nice just to randomly talk without having a script. I've obviously had some notes here for what I have pros and cons, and then I just kind of elaborated, you know, off the top of my head without having like a script just reading off, and that made it a bit more authentic for what was important to me with this game. But yeah, so let me know all that good stuff in the comments below. Let me know if you've been playing this game. I did stream the whole game over on my Twitch channel, which I'm sure you can find the VODs for that, but I should hopefully have them up on the channel soon. If you would like to see those, stay tuned. But come check me out live on Twitch also, link in the description. I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're all having a great day. I will see you next time.